The sky over southern Lebanon was quiet for just a moment, too quiet. Then the sound came in layers. First, the distant growl of engines. Then the sharp whistle of air being torn apart at supersonic speed. And finally, the impact. Precision-guided bombs struck their targets with surgical timing, sending fire and debris skyward. Israeli fighter jets had just hit what intelligence sources described as a Hezbollah military base. But what happened next was not part of the original plan, and it changed the entire tone of the night. This was not a random strike. For days, tensions along the northern border had been building. Rocket launches, drone sightings, and cross-border fire had become almost routine. Each side was testing limits, measuring responses, trying to signal strength without triggering an all-out war. Then came the order. Israeli jets lifted off under cover of darkness, flying low to avoid radar, guided by real-time intelligence and satellite feeds. The targets were clear: weapons storage facilities, command rooms, and underground infrastructure linked to Hezbollah operations near the border. The first wave hit with precision. Explosions rippled across the compound, collapsing reinforced structures and igniting secondary blasts, an indication that ammunition depots had been struck. From the air, the mission looked successful. Pilots confirmed direct hits. Surveillance drones circled overhead, streaming live footage back to command centers. For a brief window, it appeared the operation was over. But then something unexpected happened. Within minutes of the strike, Hezbollah's response mechanisms activated faster than anticipated. Emergency communications lit up across southern Lebanon. Mobile launch units, previously hidden and believed to be inactive, began repositioning. Radar signatures showed movement, not chaos. This was not a force caught completely off guard. This was a force that had planned for this exact scenario. Short-range rockets were launched first. Not in large numbers, but enough to send a clear message. Air raid sirens sounded across northern Israel, from border towns to deeper inland areas. Civil defense systems engaged instantly. Iron Dome interceptors streaked into the sky, colliding with incoming rockets in blinding flashes of light. Most were intercepted, but the message was unmistakable: the strike would not go unanswered. As the situation escalated, a second layer of the response unfolded, one that analysts would later describe as the most significant development of the night. Hezbollah deployed drones. Not the crude, easily detectable models seen in earlier confrontations, but smaller, lower-signature unmanned systems designed to slip through air defenses. Some were decoys. Others carried surveillance payloads. A few, according to later assessments, were armed. Israeli air defenses tracked them, but the sheer variety complicated the picture. Jets already returning to base were redirected. Electronic warfare units were activated. Signals were jammed. Several drones were neutralized mid-air, but at least one reached deep enough to trigger emergency protocols at a sensitive military installation. Damage was limited, but symbolically, it mattered. Meanwhile, on the ground in Lebanon, the aftermath of the airstrike was becoming clearer. Smoke poured from the destroyed base, but rescue teams and fighters were already moving through the ruins. Underground tunnels, long suspected but rarely confirmed, allowed personnel to evacuate quickly. The strike had hit hard, but it had not shattered Hezbollah's command structure. That realization began to spread among military analysts watching the situation unfold in real time. Then came the information war. Within hours, videos began circulating online. Some showed explosions from the airstrike. Others claimed to show down drones or intercepted missiles. Statements were released from both sides, each carefully worded. Israel emphasized the success of the operation and warned of severe consequences for further attacks. Hezbollah framed the strike as a failure to deter, highlighting its ability to respond and absorb damage. But behind the public messaging, something deeper was happening. Regional actors were watching closely. Intelligence agencies across the Middle East analyzed radar data, response times, and weapon types. What they saw was not a reckless exchange, but a controlled escalation, both sides pushing boundaries without crossing the line into full-scale war. Yet the margin for error was shrinking. In the hours that followed, Israeli jets struck again, this time targeting rocket launch areas identified during the initial retaliation. These follow-up strikes were faster, more focused, designed to limit Hezbollah's ability to sustain fire. At the same time, Israeli forces raised readiness levels along the border, deploying additional air defense systems and reinforcing ground units. Hezbollah, for its part, adjusted tactics. Rocket fire slowed, then stopped. Drones disappeared from radar. The message had been sent. The response had been delivered. Now came the waiting game. By dawn, the immediate exchange was over. No declaration of war. No dramatic announcement. Just silence, heavy with implication. Military experts would later describe the night as a textbook example of modern hybrid conflict. Air power, precision strikes, drones, missile defense, cyber and electronic warfare, all compressed into a few intense hours. It was not about territory gained or lost. It was about signaling capability, resilience, and limits. And yet, the most important outcome was not visible in satellite images or damage assessments. What happened after the strike exposed a critical reality: neither side could guarantee control once the first missile was launched. Plans unraveled quickly. Assumptions were tested. And every response created new risks. For Israel, the operation demonstrated reach and intelligence dominance, but also highlighted the challenge of neutralizing a deeply embedded, adaptive adversary. For Hezbollah, the response proved survivability and deterrence, but at the cost of revealing assets and tactics that could be targeted in the future. As the region returned to a tense calm, one question lingered in the minds of analysts and civilians alike. If this was just another exchange, just another night of fire and warnings, what would it take for the next one to spiral out of control? Because this time, it didn't turn into a full war. But it came close enough to remind everyone how thin the line really is.